problem finishing things. I always have. I have no problem starting things. I'm really good at constantly coming up with new things, and that's part of the problem. That's part of, like, that's a problem I've always had. I'll start writing a song, or, well, poems are easy. Poems are fast, you know. It's like, bam, I get an idea. It's on paper, you know, like that. But music takes a lot of time. Um, writing everything in an entire song. And I could start a new song every day. I could start a new song. It's kind of almost the case. I'm always starting new projects, and I keep coming up with new ideas, and I'm like, okay, I gotta put this one on hold and start this new one before I forget. And then there comes a new one, and then another one, and I have all these, you know, all these projects that so now I have all these projects, you know, just keep pushing them to the side and to the side, and, you know, and I do, for those moments of writer's block, um, writer's block, it's an interesting term, but to me, writer's block is just when I'm not inspired by anything. I go through those, you know, I go through those moments where nothing inspires me to write, so I'm not going to force myself to write. So then it's in those moments when I go back to the stuff I may have started 2 weeks ago or 10 years ago. I've kept some loaded journals, and well, I've kept a lot of stuff, you know, mostly everything I've written since I wish I could find some of the stuff I wrote when I was younger. I really do, and I probably never will. But I used to write a lot. I used to write, you know, notes and letters back and forth to friends in class, and you know, other kids brought home homework, and my homework that I made for myself, the homework that I wanted to do, I never did homework. I gotta come back to that subject in a second, but anyway, I never did homework. I got by. I didn't get a whole lot of A's, because A's required you to do homework. I always just thought that was such bullshit, that I have to go to school and learn for 8 hours and then go home and still do more work. Like, my parents only have to work 8 hours. They get to come home and, well, I guess that's a different kind of homework, being a parent, you know, that's true, you know. But as a kid, I always hated it. Like, my parents get to come home and watch movies. I'm supposed to come home and keep doing work after I've been doing work for 8 hours straight already? Like, so I just never agreed with it, so I just never did it. I got by, you know, I got 1D. rest was pretty much like B's and C's. You know, it's because I'm smart and I'm capable, and I understood everything that I learned, and I actually really used to love doing math. I kind of still like it sometimes, but I like writing music better, and and painting, and and this. I love I love the people that I found here on YouTube. I started talking about homework for too long. All right. Oh, so then I'll go back and yeah, yeah, okay. So in on those days when I'm not inspired by anything, then I go back and I look at and listen to uh, projects that I've forgotten about, and then I get inspired in a whole new way. Like, oh, I forgot about this. Oh, now, like, you know, now so much time has passed. I'm a new person every day. Every day, my thoughts are constantly evolving, and that's an that's another problem I'm having with these response videos, because my my thoughts keep changing, and you know, not, I guess, you know, not in that drastic of a way. Really, I'm just putting too much pressure on it. That's what it is. Does anybody else does anybody else have like this switch, um like this metaphorical switch? Well, mine's not really so much of it's more so of a like a dimmer, like a dimmer switch, not an on-off switch, but a nice little dimmer internally, um, for um, my cares, I guess, the things I care about. I can I can turn that I can turn it way down. I can choose to care less about everything, and sometimes I do it. Um, but I can never completely turn it off. Not that I would want to, because then I'm just, what am I? At that point, I'm completely somebody else. Like, what would I be if I didn't care about anything at all? I wouldn't be myself, you know, and I don't want to lose myself. So I don't think that I even have the capability to turn them all the way off. Maybe I do, I just don't have the desire required for the capability. Anyway, uh, so I can dim it down for a time, but it always kind of like slowly rises back up, and I go back to full on full on caring about everything again. And I care about a lot of things, and sometimes I think I have to do that, you know, once in a while. It's like an overload, sensory overload of just, I care about too many things that I start to get overwhelmed with the thought of I'm never, like, I'm probably not going to be able to to change everything that I care about, or improve, or whatever. You know, I'm probably not going to be able to to affect everything and everyone I care about in a positive way. And I long for that. I long for that ability, or to be able to actually positively affect everything and everyone that I care about. Oh, that would just be phenomenal. But I think sometimes I get overwhelmed because I care about so many things that I forget about things that I care about. There's so many things to care about, so many people. I mean, I don't understand how people juggle so many other people in their lives, in their life. I just don't see it. I look at people and I feel exhausted for them. Like people who they come they 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 come running when they're every you know they the people that come running the moment their phone beckons them, every time, whether it's a call or a text, they have to check it right away. And I can understand, well, no, not texts. Texts are never important. If it's important, you call someone. So I was gonna say, I can see, whenever it makes more sense to go to your phone every time somebody calls. But as soon as someone texts, I don't understand that. Like, it just, I'm getting exhausted just talking about it. Seriously. Just thinking about being a slave to my phone. Like, every time it chimes, I have to check it and respond right away. I can't live like that. Oh, it's just awful. Like, sometimes I don't even, sometimes I don't even check my phone at all. Like, I generally, like, I won't even check I won't check my texts for days at a time. I'll look at my phone every day. I'll generally, like, if somebody calls and it's important, I pretty much know, and like, I'll know that day, and I get back. I always get back to people. I do. I always come back. I might stray every once in a while. I stray from my friends and my family, and then I always come back. The people closest to me, they get it. But that's actually something that I just that's something that's something I've been struggling with my whole life, and I finally know why this is the case, why I just never could, like, be close with my family, or really, or my friends, or really anybody in my life, like, until recently. Like, I've never been able to like really bond with with anyone in my family. Like pretty much I don't know. I and my whole life I wondered why, because it was like it's always been just something hardwired into me. Like it's like I just can't help it. I just never I've always felt this separation from them. Like I'm not one of them. Um and I love my family. I love everybody in my family. I have a great family. I feel like I feel like before I was born into this world, I may have even chosen them. I may have chosen I feel like I might have chosen this path, chosen this family, these people. Um, and there's a reason. There's a reason for it. And but I just no matter what, always been this separation. I've always been like the. Sometimes I like to call myself the deadbeat family member because I don't always show up. It's just how I am. It's how I've always been. And now I know that's why. Um, it's because they're not they're not my original family. They're not my spiritual family. I just can't bond and connect with any of them because we've always been on different levels. Even growing up, like before I ever looked into conspiracy theories or you know before I ever did any real research of the world, I knew always knew I always I've always known somehow, like it was always in me that this world's not right. It's not as it seems. And pretty much actually there's this there's a there's a specific very prominent memory. um I remember it like it was yesterday, and it's one of my first my first ever memories. And it's I I've I've thought about it almost every day since then. Um, it was Easter. I was born on Easter, by the way. Um, I was born on Easter at the end of March. Easter, I was I don't know, I was like 6, 7, 8, or 9, and yeah, I was like 6, 7, 8, or 9, and my brother was 2, 3, 4, or 5. I don't know, one of those. And um, he still believed in the Easter Bunny. And I knew that my parents had hidden the eggs around the house for me and my brother to find. And I blurted out without thinking. I couldn't find any more eggs in the living room, in the front room. Actually, I think we called that the family room. Whatever. I blurted out to my parents, did you hide any eggs in the kitchen? And my parents just freaked the fuck out. Like I just did this horrible thing. And because my brother was in the next room and I wasn't thinking, I'm just living honestly and asking an honest question. Like, I didn't put the question through a dishonesty filter, or like, it was like I was expected to put the question through a filter first. Like, oh, wait, maybe I shouldn't ask them that, because then my brother will find out the truth. I'm not thinking like that. I'm just like, anyway, my parents freak out and like I'm gonna ruin my brother's day or something, and he didn't hear me, and I had to be done egg hunting. And that was a serious blow, because I've always loved candy, and I still do. Mostly these days I go with more of a organic sort of candy, but definitely not as much as when I was a kid. I remember one Christmas I sat down and ate all the white chocolate Kit Kats from my stocking. Actually, they came in a little box. It was separate from all the candy in my stocking. It was its own thing. It was its own present. And there was like, 8 to 12 white chocolate Kit Kats, like the sets of 4, whatever. And I sat there and I ate them all in one sitting. I could never do that today. Oof. Just get sick thinking about it. But I'm glad that I don't wanna even do things like that anymore. The decisions I made. Anyway, back to Easter. So I was punished for doing nothing wrong, and because I was expected to lie to my brother because my parents were lying to him. I was expected, well, if not to lie, to go along with a lie. It's so fucked up. And that was one of my, it's not even like, I know a lot of people, like, a lot of people are gonna hear that and be like, you're fucking stupid. Like, I got beat with a belt, you know, or I I had a I would much rather have had that, you know, and I'm not I was angry about it for so long. And I wasn't even really angry at my parents. I was angry at whoever was the cause whoever was the cause of that manipulation. I knew like it wasn't their fault. Probably I don't know what percentage of people in this country, or I don't know what percentage of people here um, celebrate that tradition and tell their kids that make believe make believe things exist. No, it's it's one thing to so since that Easter, I've always known this world isn't right. It's a dishonest place. This place is dishonest. That that was like my earliest lesson in life, and it's stayed with me almost every day. I think about it, and I've thought about that that day. Like, that was a pivotal moment. That was the moment when I just knew without knowing. Like, I didn't know. Like, it wasn't like I was, it wasn't like I was 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10, or 6, 7, 8, or 9, and I had that exact thought, like, oh, the world must be so corrupt. It wasn't like that, but I just knew since then, like, something's off. And I didn't really know that day that I was gonna start figuring all this out 20 years later. Um, but I am. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's cool. Maybe not the proper word, but um, interesting how. Anyway, the whole like lying to your kids tradition, like, it's one thing if it's one thing to feed the imagination. That's a healthy thing, and I very much encourage it. And it's these parents' lack of imagination. It's the parents' lack of imagination that causes this behavior, that causes this way of thinking. They I feel bad, like they have such a lack of imagination that they follow what other people are doing. Like, they can't. There are literally infinite ways to to play around with your imagination and the imagination of a child. But You have to have no imagination yourself if you're just gonna go along with what everyone else is doing. I mean, how fucking weird is it that people make their kids people make their kids wait in line to sit in some strange man's lap so they can have a photo of their kid in some strange man's lap. What? It's okay to put your kid in some strange man's lap who you've never met. if it's a tradition. It's okay to cut part of a baby's penis off if it's tradition. Because things that everybody else things that everybody else does must be the thing to do. That must be right. But what's ironic about that is my parents always said, you know, just because everybody else is doing it, are you going to? If everybody else jumped off a bridge, would you? If everybody else started off their relationship with their children with lies, if everyone else did it, would you? If everyone else decided to lie to their kids, would you? It's exactly like that. I should have turned that shit around and said that shit to them, but whatever. I'm very verbal about it now. I'm not shy anymore about being honest with my family about who I am and how I feel about the world and my life, and I just knew, like, I love my parents and they're good parents, you know, like the best that they possibly could be. But I could never connect with them. They could never see the world how I see it. They could never understand how wise I was. And I never really thought of myself as wise until recently. But I look back and another specific memory I have is the day I actually first learned, lo and behold, I remember specifically the day I learned that the Earth is a globe and it's spinning. I remember being like, no, it's not. Like, you can't feel myself spinning, you know. It made no sense whatsoever. It was like all these adults are telling me this poppycock. It's rubbish. Like, But at that age, I didn't have the cognitive reasoning ability to sit there and say this. So I'm a tiny child. All these adults are telling me this is how it is, this is how it is, and I was told that over and over every year of my life, and I'm still being told that. But now I know. Now I know for sure. I mean, but ever since that day, I just was like, no way. And the whole, we can't feel ourselves spinning thing. I was like, oh, all right, that's too obvious. When you're in a car and you're on cruise control, you don't feel like you're moving. Well, I mean, you can feel the bumps in the road, but if it was smooth, no bumps, the atmosphere in the car is moving with you. So, if that were the case, then that's explained, why we wouldn't feel it. But if you speed up in a car or slow down or in anything when you're walking or riding a roller coaster or an elevator, you can always feel, you can sense the changes in speed. So you can, when there's a speed change, then you can feel yourself moving. So every time we travel north or south, we're either speeding up or slowing down, supposedly. So then that makes no sense. If it were spinning, we would be able to sense it every time we went north or south a little bit. We'd be going at a different speed every time, So when I drove from Chicago to Miami, I should have felt that, okay, I'm spinning faster, I should have felt myself going fast. It's just ridiculous. True love, true love. That is my favorite thing, and it always has been. That's always been my number one favorite thing in the world. Please bear with me during all of my awkwardness. It's the camera. The camera does it to me. Okay. So I told you how love and honesty are my two favorite things, and love, well, true love specifically, because there is true love and there's synthetic love, and I'll get into that. But true love, and then honesty is my other favorite, but those are my two favorite things and always have been, because honesty is required to have true love. You can't have true love without honesty, because then it's not true. Yeah, and I don't know what's up with my cognitive ability right now. Probably the fact that I didn't sleep enough. And then I didn't sleep enough again. But I'm trying to get so much done. I'm trying to make up for a lot of lost time in my early years of life. All my years of life up until just about 2 years ago. I'm 28 now. And I can't say that I wasted the first 26 years of my life. because I was constantly learning. As ignorant as I was, and as ignorant as I chose to be, it was a choice. I was willfully ignorant, and I knew it. Well, I mean, I didn't know it when I was younger. I knew it when when I was in my 20s. I knew I was ignorant, and it was somewhat blissful, but synthetic bliss. So, now, now I feel the things in my life are a lot truer. Come on, Heather, you can do this. You can't be truly happy unless you're being truly yourself. And that's why honesty is probably the most important thing that we can get out of this. Because true happiness, true love, and true happiness require honesty for those to even exist. If honesty didn't exist, true love wouldn't exist. True happiness wouldn't exist. I never really loved the typical things that girls love growing up. I never loved fashion. I mean, I in school I did, I wanted to fit in school, but then it didn't take me very long to grow out of that and realize how silly that was. To want to do something simply for the approval of others, or simply to appear more relatable to others that I'm not even really that relatable with. I can't really relate. I figured out pretty quickly how silly that was, and like I actually I have a saying about fashion. I like to say it to people who spend too much money on their clothes because of a fucking name brand, and it goes, fashion's a joke, and the joke's on you. Never did anything to give anybody any kind of inclination that I'm the kind of person to just believe nonsense with no evidence, and that's their logic. She must just believe nonsense. All of a sudden, I've known her for I've known her for several years, and she's always been pretty smart, and she's always had profound things to say, and now she's like, now she believes the earth is flat. What the fuck happened to her, As if I just watched one YouTube video and was like, oh, the earth is flat. Everybody needs to know. As if I haven't been looking into it for over a year. As if somebody on the street just came up to me and told me the earth was flat, and I was like, huh, interesting. I'm gonna tell everyone, That's what they're saying to you. That's what they're saying to me. That's what they say. That's essentially what they're saying to us. Suddenly, in a matter of 30 seconds, or however long it takes you to say the earth is flat, or the earth may be flat, or any of those words next to each other, that's all it takes for these people to completely forget all these years of friendship where you had all these profound things to say. That's all just out the window. Well, luckily I haven't had I haven't been disowned by too many of my friends, but um I think a few of them just keep me around for the entertainment. They want to see where this is gonna go, you know? And I'm I'm very fortunate enough to have an amazing family who uh, doesn't judge me or give me shit about it at all. My family is amazing, even though uh, they're not really having it with the flat Earth discussion, at least yet. But need to get some sleep. Good night.
What is it, baby?